this error message.
I go hard. I go hard. I go. Hey yo, ain't no competition. I'm the hardest out. My team is always strategic. Go ahead and finish out. It's like a sticker for the cash. Put your palms up. You think you're going hard, but see to me that's just a warm up. Arms up, nothing lavish. I'm just a savage. Who's average? Death do its part. It's be the marriage. I push it to the limit. Admit it, you just a gimmick. When I did it like I did it, admit it, but then I'm with it. So tell me what's the incentive? I tend to shine faster. Find me going to defensive just like a linebacker. I'm not a dope dealer, I'm just a hope stealer. Sling the truth, bang the proof, burn it down, hear the truth. I'm not a dope dealer, I'm just a hope stealer. Sling the truth, bang the proof, burn it down, hear the truth. I'm not a dope dealer, I'm just a hope stealer. Sling the truth, bang the proof, burn it down, hear the truth. I go hard, handle the Bible, word of God. I go hard, handle the Bible, word of God. I go hard, hard. I go hard, handle the Bible, word of God. I go hard, handle the Bible, word of God. I go hard, handle the Bible, word of God. Sling the truth, bend the booth, burn it down, hear the truth. I'm not a dope dealer, I'm just a hope spiller. Sling the truth, bend the booth, burn it down, hear the truth.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the I'm Just Saying podcast. This is a special sports edition with your friendly neighborhood sports guy, Pat Jeans. And give me just a second. Let me adjust my lighting. I've been having some technical issues, particularly with the audio, but I do have Unbiased Brim here with me, and try to get him on in just a second, and we'll get started. But let me go ahead and just do this quick adjustment on the lighting. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. I hope you guys can hear me okay. We do got Woo Pig Double O is with us right now. And Double O, you can you hear me okay? Because again, I was having some issues with the audio. And I want to make sure that's good right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was history. That's all that's the best way to put it. And it was a good fight. I just watched it a second time, downstairs with my wife. And the fight was actually closer than I remembered it last night. But, clearly Bud did win. And he made a statement for, for the boxing community. And you know, now we just got to deal with the aftermath. And because the whole boxing game has changed as of last night, not only was it history in the sense that we had Netflix sort of change the game, doing away with the pay-per-view model. Turkey Al Sheik, has been doing this thing for about a year or so now and bringing us the big fights, the sort of, what some people call the fantasy fights that we never used to be able to get before. But now we're getting them. And I want to have a conversation today about that because, so many boxing experts, and I think over the years they've been sort of conditioned to, um, not expect the good fights or find reasons not to give us those fights. But instead, we're getting them. So these questions about not only, of course, you can't answer the question like, well, is Terence Crawford better than Sugar Ray Leonard? Because they're definitely fighting in two different eras, so we'll never know. But when you have a situation like this, where you have two guys like Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, who are contemporaries, around the same age, they're in the same era, and despite these false narratives that have been out here from the beginning, um, they're the same size. And people came up with all these rationalizations to why they could not fight. And you would have been arguing for days that, oh yeah, Terence Crawford could have beat him. Oh no, Terence couldn't dare, he didn't belong in the ring with Canelo, and Canelo would have murdered him, and all these kind of things. And and I guess it's set up for people who like to debate and have all these debates. There we go. We got Brim with us. And but now we get those answers. And that's true to me as a true boxing fan, that's what you want to see. I don't get this mentality of all these people who don't want to see what would happen. They would rather argue for their favorite fighter rather than see their fighter face the top competition and us find out for sure who's the best. Well, we found out last night who is the better fighter between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. And not only did we find out that, we found out that Terence Bud Crawford is probably one of the best fighters of all time. And we're going to have some conversations about, is he that? Is he the best pound for pound now? We got, like I said, we got Unbiased Brim, one of the best boxing analysts out here today in these YouTube streets. And we're going to talk about the whole size conversation and how that really played out in terms of it being perception versus reality. We're going to talk about why so many experts were baffled, because I know, as I'm sure Brim can tell you guys, he you know was arguing with people all the time who was saying, oh, I didn't want the fight, or Canelo's going to kill him, it's not even worth watching, all these kind of things. And I know from talking to Brim, and we've talked in the past, of course, we did the podcast last week in the lead up to the fight. He picked Crawford just like I did. But that was a minority opinion. The majority of people would have told you that this fight should never have happened. And we're going to show you some clips of that too. And, it shouldn't have happened. But it has happened, and it has changed the boxing landscape. And because of it, again, we're going to talk about, the whole GOAT conversation. Where does Terence Crawford land in that? And we're going to look at the whole pound for pound thing, and where does Crawford stand with the other great pound for pound guys today? Because there is Alexander Usyk, and there is Inoue. And so I'm not sure the debate is quite over yet. And then we're going to look forward and say, well, where does Crawford and Canelo go from here? Now that the dust is settled on this one, are they going to rematch? What are the good fights for a guy like Terence Bud Crawford, as he's soon to be 38. As Crawford was quick to point out to everybody, don't put no years on me yet. He's still technically 37, but he'll be 38 in a couple of weeks. And you know, is he gonna box again? Does he walk off into the sunset from here? And what happens with Canelo? Turkey Al Sheikh was planning all these big fights down the line with his 3-fight deal with Canelo. Well, Turkey, what are you gonna do now? And if the rematch comes, is Crawford gonna be the A side? Is Crawford gonna get that 150 million? And Canelo's gonna have to take an ass whooping for 50 million. We shall see. But without further ado, let me bring on my man, Unbiased Brim, and let's get into this conversation. And let's get Brim in here.
Yes, he did it.
Unbiased.
Yeah. Give it up for
Man.
I'm just saying. What's up, good brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, good, doing good, man. Bud made my night. The Razorbacks, man, broke my heart again. And thank God, I had a bad feeling after the Razorback game. It's like, okay, now Bud is going to lose, and that'll just ruin
Listen,
my weekend.
I told everybody to make sure to don't have your expectations too high, so when things like that happen, you're not crushed. I was disappointed, but I wasn't crushed because I had tempered my expectations for this season. And unfortunately, the Hogs are going to hog. TG, salute to you, brother. You did everything you possibly could. The defense, the coach.
Uh, 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 you're breaking up a little bit, Brim. Um, I don't know if it's on
80
my end.
pounds of ginger.
Okay.
So we're gonna leave that there.
Okay, but let's get into the fight. So, man, first thoughts, man. What do you think? Can you hear me, Unbiased?
Yeah, I can. My Wi-Fi is acting stupid. Hold up.
Okay, okay. And like everybody's having technical difficulties today. I know I was having my share on this end. I had to delay the broadcast for almost 30 minutes. Audio issues started last night on the stream with the
Am I back?
Razorbacks.
Am I back?
You're back. So give me your thoughts on the fight, man.
Wi-Fi's trash.
Well, that's Connecticut for you.
Watch your mouth. It ain't Connecticut. Cut it out. It's actually Concast. Yeah. But can you see me and hear me good now?
I got you. Yeah, you good.
All right, cool. I'm glad it's working.
All right.
Um, yeah, the Hogs are gonna hog though. The defense is gonna deserves the fury
Hey,
because they couldn't stop a
let's
cold with 18 pounds of tension. But
well let's
that's neither here nor there.
yeah, let's get to the
So
fight.
yeah, let's get to the fight. Well, I'm gonna tell you this much. I did pick Canelo, because I thought the judges would kind of take it. And I thought Bud would show up
Wait a
and
minute.
represent pretty well.
You picked Bud
Yeah, I did.
last week.
No, I picked Canelo. I picked Canelo split decision because I thought that the Bud would do good enough to where you would think he won, but the judges would give it to Canelo. Um, I thought he would be able to take his power, in which he was able to. But what I saw on Saturday night, last night, was a combination of Terence Crawford using all the best tools that worked against Canelo. Lateral movement from William Skull, the 1-2-1 and keeping distance with Bivol, and the in pocket fighting, being able to escape shots and land his own shots in cleaner, effective punches like Mayweather. He took the best of
Yeah.
all those guys with a combination of Laura and Trout and put it all together. And Terrence Crawford had a masterclass performance. It was a phenomenal performance. He deserves every single flower. And I hope nobody tears down Canelo to the point where he's so washed up, he's done. Because at the end of the day, Canelo is an all-time great fighter. He just didn't have the answer for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford was on his game, man, and it was impressive. I was truly impressed with Terence Crawford.
Right. And and you said the key thing, man, is just that he put all those things together. You know, um, to do one thing, again, like okay, Floyd beat him with a particular style, Bivol beat him with a particular style. Other people have used elements to kind of, give him a tough time, like Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. But they would eventually get caught, unlike Floyd and Bivol. But Terence Crawford put it all together. And but again, I think here's my big takeaway I wanted to get off the top. His number one thing was he was not afraid. He's a fighter.
Facts.
He came to fight. He wasn't,
He came to win.
yeah, for sure. And you
He
could
wasn't
tell
doing a
in the lead
Belonga,
up,
do a parade for making it 12 rounds. That was not his goal. No.
or you can go down the list. I mean, Charlo and the Skull and
Don't
all
get me
those
started with
guys.
that.
You know, but that's what separates the good from the great. Is that they have that confidence that they when they step in the ring, they come to win. The money, of course, is a big part of it. It is prize fighting, so I get it. But at the end of the day, you have to have pride in your ability to fight, and you want to prove that you can win against anybody.
Facts.
And that's what separates Terence Crawford, and even say like his young protege, Shakur Stevenson. I haven't seen that in Shakur yet. He has all the skills and everything else, but he hasn't shown that ability that, okay, you know what? At the end of the day, if I have to knuckle up and duke it out with you, that's what fighting is, and I'm prepared to do that.
Well,
You
he
know,
did that in his last fight against William Cepeda, though. He had a really good performance against William Cepeda. He was in pocket fighting very well, landing some clean, effective shots. So I got to give Shakur credit for what he did against William Cepeda because he did do those similar things.
facts, facts, facts. Um, so yeah, man. So let's go back over here and let's get into this. Okay, let's I want to start with this thing, right? Because I saw a video with well, okay, let's start here. We'll start with Crawford's prediction. Because again, in the lead up to the fight, everybody was saying like, "Oh, Crawford's gonna." I'm not saying everybody, but
But
I'll
enough
say the
people said he.
majority that this fight should never have happened. That
Mm-hmm.
Canelo's just too big, and Crawford, to his credit, said this.
Mention me one. You
Since
mention me
2002.
one elite fighter. Just one.
You.
Oh, me.
Look,
It's gonna be
you.
me.
I don't
And
care
you
about
will.
nobody else.
And you will see that.
You. So when I beat you, is you gonna be a nobody? When I stump a mud hole in your ass, is you gonna be a nobody?
See, that's a real one. And Brim, I know you know. That's a real black man right there. I don't want to
That's a
use
real that's a real junkyard dog. That's what that is, a junkyard dog, boy.
that's a real ninja. You know what I mean? Because that's how it is in the hood. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you got a lot of tough guys running around. Sometimes y'all have to settle things, but you got to settle it. And he's letting him know, like, okay, we're gonna do this fight, and I know everybody's scared of you because you're Canelo. You're the big boogeyman that everybody's afraid of, or at least a lot of people outside of David Benavidez, anyway. And but he's letting them know, like, I'm not Charlo. I'm not none of these other guys. When I come here, I'm gonna do you like I do everybody else.
You're gonna be just like everybody else. Watch.
Mhm.
Watch.
Anybody
But
could be
ain't
a
shit that
nobody.
everybody else been saying since I moved to 147. I ain't fought nobody. Every last one of them stump a mud hole in their ass and he gonna be next. Watch.
And Canelo ain't never had nobody talk to him like that. And like part of the conversation, even going into the fight, I heard people like Andre Ward say, "I paid attention to the little things leading up to the fight." He says he's a big believer. Who, of course, as we know, Andre Ward, Hall of Famer, retired undefeated, said you win the fight before you even get in the fight. And it's
Facts.
things like that where I think Crawford sent the number one message to Canelo was, "I'm not afraid of you." And Ward talked about the stare down. Who would look away first, and those kind of things. And it's true. Not those things aren't always the tale, but Crawford sending that message that I come to fight. I'm not gonna run. I'm not scared. You're gonna have to whoop me, unlike some other people. But give me your thoughts on just the mental aspects or the mental approach to a fight like this.
Yeah, I was having a lot of debates with Canelo fans in regards to, oh, he's just trying to get this just a cash grab. I'm like, bro, yes, money was the reason why this fight was made, but it's clear that Terence Crawford and the way he's operated in his career and how he's actually spoken to Canelo that he is going to come to win this fight. When you looked at the Charlo press conference, he was happy to be there. When you see him fight, he gets hit with one good shot and then he goes to retreat mode. Skull doesn't engage, always all nothing but lateral movement the whole fight. So when I saw what I saw, I knew that Bud would have a chance if he could take Canelo's best shot and be good to go, that it was going to be a problem for Canelo and Terence Crawford could win the fight. And he shown that. And the thing was so amazing is that he also, you know, in the trenches outdid Canelo. Just to keep it in being. Yeah, so yeah, that played a vital role in for Terence Crawford's mindset going into the fight that, hey, you're just another guy in front of me and my goal is to beat you. And he didn't go into that fight just trying to survive and just trying to go 12 rounds. He went in there to win the fight.
And let's look at some actual fight clips, some clips from the fight. Let me
Yeah,
start this up.
that's one of the big ones right there.
I mean, well, okay, let me show this one first because it kind of goes into our conversation. And we'll get to this second one in a minute. But let's go to this one. Because
He pulling up the clip.
here the thing is what you're saying, like, okay, Bud stood his ground. Because the talk, or everybody believed that, Canelo's going to do what Canelo does. He's going to come forward. He's going to cut off the ring. But in this fight, this smaller guy, allegedly, Terence Crawford, stood toe to toe in the middle of the ring and bullied the bully. And let's check this clip out and see how this exchange went down. So here you go. You got, okay, here they are going literally toe to toe. And
Infighting.
Crawford's with the shoulder roll, making Canelo cover up, making him pay with every punch. He's not retreating. He's bringing the fight right to him. And that's where Terence Crawford won the fight because nobody expected that. Everybody going into it felt like, Crawford's got to avoid getting hit. He can't go toe to toe. Or if he gets caught on the ropes or whatever, he was in trouble. But again, part of the mental battle. Crawford let Canelo know early on in that fight, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm not running from you. I'm not these other guys. And I can go toe to toe with you, and I'm not scared. And I'm going to make you pay in, it was just such a beautiful thing. And it kind of reminded me of Ali and George Foreman, where Foreman was the big bad boogeyman and nobody could, stand up to Foreman. And here was Ali coming out with a straight lead hand right or doing the rope a dope and just letting him know, like, okay, I might not have my legs anymore, but I'm gonna whoop you at your own at your own game. I mean, what do you think, Brim?
Literally, um, Terence Crawford made Canelo uncomfortable. He didn't let Canelo do what he does best. And also, Canelo was unable to turn back the clock. I think he just got stuck in a particular fighting style where he's loading up, throwing single shots, not enough combinations. And at one point in his career, he did throw some combinations, but since he moved up to 168, um, literally after the Billy Joe Sanders fight, he was a load up heavy puncher, and Terence Crawford made him pay for not being able to, throw multiple shots. Canelo throw one, but throw three or four, and that's what led to him winning those exchanges in the infighting. And he literally, when he took Canelo's best shots, he took them very, very well. And I think that you started to see frustration from Canelo with the incidental headbutt, those things. He got frustrated because Terence Crawford literally was able to do what he wanted to do in regards to the fight plan. And he stayed off the ropes. He would get back sometimes, but then he would make sure he would put position and posture, and he would do some of the b-ball tactics, which was the feint 1-2s,
Mm-hmm.
and it made Canelo hesitant to go on because the truth be told, Terence Crawford had enough pop that Canelo respected it, and he had enough pop in them fists.
Oh yeah. Let's check this out. Um, and we got just the clip for that because you know if anybody questioned Terence Crawford punching power, and you go back and you watch the highlights from this fight, you're gonna see it. And here is a perfect example. Canelo goes in, he answers. I mean, you know how it is, man. When a fighter gets hit and that sweat like pops off his head like that, that's one of those things where your brain is not keeping up with how fast the head is moving, and it's getting jarred up there. And it takes you a minute to kind of recover and figure out like, oh, what just happened? And that's that look on Canelo's face right here. And it reminded me of I'm gonna make a couple of football analogies here. You know, when I was coming up, we had this guy. He was a bully of the block. And he was a boxer also. And but we were playing football, and by this time he was a little older than me, and I just got up on my size and everything. I was football player. We out there playing street ball, and I caught him, you know, running trying to hit somebody. And you know how those blindside hits when you catch them when they're not looking, and I hit him,
Mm.
bam, and he flew about 7 yards the other way. And I just remember him hitting the ground and sliding. He said, "Oh, this motherfucker hit me, man." And that's the look on Canelo's face right here. When Crawford hits him, you can see him looking like, God damn. Watch this. Ooh, I know he didn't hit me like that, man. Terrence, what I do to you, man? That you trying to do me like that, man? Uh.
He
And there
tried
was
to turn into the shot, but Terrence still caught him, so he was surprised.
and there were several shots like that where and when you were saying he was frustrating them, because again, you could tell Canelo was used to like, okay, here I come. And there were several times when he would try to, go into his offense. And there's another football analogy. Again, like when I talk defense, people feel like, oh, defense ain't no fun. We want offense or whatever. But truly superb defense is offensive. It's aggressive. It's not reacting. It's taking the fight to the offense and making the offense react to them. And you know, so when Canelo would come in and try to initiate his offense, Crawford would bam, and you could see Canelo like jump back. Instead of him going on his normal attack, he would jump back and be like, "Oh,
He had to
I didn't
reassess.
expect that."
He had to
Exactly.
reassess and reposition at times. So Terrence Crawford made him uncomfortable in multiple ways. Some ways were the lateral movement, where Canelo wasn't able to set his base. Then when he had times when he set his base, the 1-2-1s or the feints would make Canelo hesitant, which gave Terrence Crawford enough time and space to be able to be crafty, to create his openings, to get his shots when Canelo does throw his punches. I,
Mhm.
mean, I got to say, it was a master class. It was
Yeah.
It was masterful.
And the
It really
beautiful
was.
thing, and the beautiful thing about it too was it wasn't just the feints. it was the jab, in particular, which would seem to be, and I noticed the same thing with Spence. He would pop him with it, and it was almost like he didn't expect it. He was it was like a wake up call, like bam, what just happened, you know. And the feints is a part of that, of course, because the whole idea of the feints is never know when he's letting that jab loose. He's constantly faking it, but then next thing you know, bam, he let it go, and you're like, oh, he's not just feigning this time. He actually delivered a blow. um, the wife is chimed in. Of course, that's my road dog with these fights, man. She
She
says,
said,
"But
she said, without it. I
see,
stood
I've
on my
never
square.
done
I
it."
heard that.
And so she's been with me because in the Spence fight, I was in there to my brothers and cousins, the motorcycle club, and the whole place was full of Spence fans. And I walked in there talking cash smack. How Crawford was gonna whoop him. Everybody's looking at me like it's crazy. Like, oh man, this dude drunk, man. He don't know what he's talking about. But as the fight went along, oh my
They was
God.
quiet.
And I was talking
Churchmen.
cash. And it was just so stunned. I mean, and at times I was stunned too. As watching, I was like, I didn't think he was gonna whoop him like that quite. And this was similar. Although I will say, again, going back and watching the fight, I thought Canelo actually did better than I thought. And so the judges' scores, I don't know about the 13, 113, 115, but the fight was not the landslide I probably thought
No,
it
it
would
wasn't
be.
a landslide, but I think it was a clean 8-4. If you took the average of all scorecards, it was a clean 8-4 victory, in my opinion, for Terence Crawford. Because he dominated the championship rounds, and it looked like he actually stunned Canelo pretty good in the 11th round too, and towards the end of the 12th.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's what Crawford really separated. Because I could see where, because I watched the Pain Games watch party, and they were all, pick Canelo too. And, early on in the fight, I'm listening to it, and this is before I rewatched it. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Crawford dominated the first few rounds. And I'm going to get to Sean Zatel and Radio Raheem in a minute. But I think Zatel was saying that, well, it was 3-3 going into the sixth, but during the latter part of the fight, Crawford really stepped on the gas and took control of the fight. And in hindsight, that turned out to be pretty accurate, I think. Yeah.
Even though I had it actually, it was either 5-2 or 4-3. I mean, 4-3 if you were feeling generous, but I actually had it 5-2 after seven. You know,
5-2. Okay. Yeah, and I know that's what I had. I mean, I could have maybe given Canelo one or two of the first few rounds, but not more than that. Um, okay, but let's go to our experts. How these experts were so baffled by what would take place, and I bring this up
And Canelo and Crawford have grabbed some headlines. They pushed.
with these guys because, and I wanted to have this conversation with you because I know you're a true boxing aficionado. And in the boxing world, there's this designation as some people are casual fans versus like
oh
hardcore
boy,
boxing fans. And my thing on that is, you know, I guess I could be considered a casual, in the sense that I don't watch mediocre. I don't like watching mediocre fighters, and I don't like to watch fights just for the sake of watching fights. I want to see excellence. And I compare it to, say, like watching movies. And my wife, she'll tell you like, I don't want to watch a bad movie. If I'm gonna watch a movie, it needs to be grade A quality stuff. And another analogy I would make is like the NFL today. Um, you might consider me a casual NFL fan today, but just because I checked out on the NFL because the product sucked and I lost interest in it, you ain't telling me nothing about the game of football just because you watch the CFL and the USFL and the XFL and follow the NFL today and thinking that's the real thing. You know what I mean? In order to tell me something about football, you're gonna have to know the history, the roots, and know the difference between good football and bad football. You know, so but and here are these two guys. You know, they're two of the biggest media personalities in boxing today, and they give this sort of typical um, take pre-fight on why this fight should have never happened, saying the fight was a joke, that it wasn't even worth putting on. They would have rather not seen this fight and settle the question of can Terence Crawford beat a Canelo Alvarez? And that's how boxing never got a lot of the great fights. And I think that was a detriment to boxing because you have media personalities who don't want, who will sit there and argue not to have these great fights.
Each other, but it feels a little manufactured. It feels a little, Raheem, like The Rock coming to Fast and Furious. Like Canelo, I'll let you cook, but Canelo is a 13-time champion in 4 divisions. Crawford's a 10-time champion in 4 divisions. The Rock's the biggest movie star in the world. The Fast and the Furious is the most sequel thing ever. You didn't ask for it. You didn't see it coming, but you're going to get it and you will watch it. Even
Yeah,
though I didn't
Lucy,
watch
that
those
goes for
movies.
you too. You're gonna
It's
get
sensational.
it.
And what the promotion and the network are looking to supplement where chemistry is lacking is marketing. It's sensationalism. That's the era that we're in. The kind
And see, and that's the thing, Brim. Like, okay, you have an opportunity to get two all-time great fighters who are contemporaries in the ring and find out who's the best. Why would you not want that?
Let me tell you something, because Terrence Bud Crawford has been disrespected over the course of his career. See, people forget the history of boxing that, and when you say something about you being a casual, you might be a casual, but you're a knowledgeable one. And I would say I'm only one step above a casual. That's why I don't, unless you have like outrageous takes, I don't really come at you because the truth be told is most people don't watch weight classes below 126. Like this morning, I watched a new weight fight at 7 this morning on Facebook Live. That's where I can say I'm past the casual because I'm watching all types of stuff. But truth be told, with these gentlemen and with a lot of old media and even with some new media,
Mm,
they forget that Sugar Ray Leonard came off a 2 years and 11-month layover to go fight Marvin Hagler coming up from 147 to 160, off an eye injury.
right.
We're forgetting that there's been fighters previously that has done what Terence Crawford just accomplished outside of being undisputed, moving up, a weight 2 weight classes to go for a bigger time victory. So it's not new, but they're treating it like it's new. And the reason why is I think because Terence Crawford has been proverbially disrespected in the course of his career. Or he hadn't faced nobody, even though Pacquiao went a different direction. Keith Thurman went a direction. Danny Garcia went a different direction. So all these things transpired, and they're not keeping the proper context. And the reason why they say the things they saying is because, truth be told, they undermined what Terence Crawford's career is in totality. And he had to show everybody.
But at the heart of that is, you know, these promotions and fans, will get behind a guy and then try to protect them. Rather than have them fight the best competition. Okay, say for example, if you in the NFL or the NBA, the whole idea of the league, and this is something that everybody's saying that Turkey Al-Cheek and
Dana
what's the
White.
name? Yeah, Dana White are trying to put together like a boxing league because that's what you want. You can't be in the NFL and be like, well, yeah, I'm with the Packers. The
I don't
Bears.
want to play. I don't want to play the Eagles
I don't
this
want to.
right
Yeah,
now.
they ain't good enough. And then you'll never get those great upsets or those great moments. Because this other teams, well, I'm too good to fight them. They're below me. They're beneath me, or they're in a different conference. So why should I go fight them and stuff like that? And and that destroys the credibility of the competitive nature of a sport. You
That's
have to
what's
be
hurt
willing to
boxing.
you have to be willing to get the best to play the best. Or even if you consider yourself the best, you have to put it on the line even against people you feel are lesser than you to prove you're the best. You don't get to say,
Yes,
well, hey, I'm so good, I don't have to prove nothing to you. No, you do have to prove it because anybody that knows sports knows the beauty of sports is those moments when you think this guy or this team is so good, and then they go up against somebody else and they get proven to be not what we thought they were. And that's
but
that's the beauty of it.
let me go into it a little bit more in regards to the media aspect and why boxing is taking a hit in the United States, because it's called selective enforcement of moral high ground. Like Sean Sattel, I like him, but he took the time to go at Dana White about the Ali Act and what they're trying to do.
Right.
When the truth be told, the Ali Act only applies in the United States. So that means every fight that's not made in the United States, the Ali Act has no bearing, right?
Okay,
The
now
Ali
Brim,
Act is only,
Brim,
yes.
explain what the Ali Act is.
The Ali Act is to protect fighters so the promoter and manager wouldn't be the same person. So your best interest would be involved, basically, in a nutshell. So where they can't, you know, pigeonhole you to certain fights and certain pay. So it's to protect the fighters in that regard. But the truth be told, that has not necessarily changed anything in boxing. The perfect example is Al Heyman, PBC. He is not a promoter, right? Quote unquote.
Right.
But he manages the same fighters under the same umbrella, and he advises them at the same time. That's a
Right.
conflict of interest. So someone like Sean Zattel, who was coming at Dana White and TKO, right? He
Mm-hmm.
didn't have this energy for Al Heyman circumventing the Ali Act for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when we look at what they're asking to change in the Ali Act, truth be told, TKO boxing is not about the takeover boxing. They're not. They're looking to be able to have their lane. And the thing is, the lane that they're in, the big fights won't be in that lane. It'll be the people they're built this building up. So it's fighters just coming up. It's almost like a contender series, almost to some degree, but it's in its own little pocket. So what the hoopla about the Ali Act and Dana White and all that, it's a little overstated. It's
Mm-hmm.
overstated. And they put all this extra energy into this, but they didn't have any energy for the people who were circumventing it before then. But the only reason why they're doing it is because it's Dana White. That's the reason why they're doing it.
Right.
So that's why I take issue with media to some degree, because they'll create a narrative and run with their narrative, and the people get behind that narrative. Like everybody's so up in arms about about the Ali Act. When the truth be told, every fight that's made in the UK, every fight that's made not in the United States, the Ali Act is not applicable. It's only in the United States. And what boxing and out of all the boxing across the world, what boxing is right now has struggled the most and had the most, not even gonna say deterioration, but non-mainstream movement towards it? America.
Right.
So again, don't get me wrong. The fighters, you want to protect them the best way you can, but at the same token, sometimes the fighters is part of the reason why the sport takes a hit. So I don't want to hear this. Oh, protect the fighters, when you're not having that energy when there are moments in time when that is necessary. But because it's somebody you like, you won't hold their feet to the fire.
Right.
Like Tank Davis right now fighting Jake Paul. Why is he fighting Jake Paul and not fighting his contemporaries in a championship caliber fight? And
Like
everybody say, "Oh, well,
Demetrius.
let him get his money." Fine, drop your belt because you're risk adverse, and nobody holds his feet to the fire with these guys in the media. Those type of guys in the media. It's only selective enforcement and a selective outrage, and in turn, they do boxing no justice by having the mindset that they have.
Exactly. And as we get further into this exchange between these guys, you can see that because, and I'll talk about this at the end. You like they represent certain interests themselves. Whether they want to admit it or not. And so this whole mentality that they have is really rooted in what special interests they're trying to protect.
The chemistry that you talk about, well, you're right. It's built organically because fighters of this quality would have faced each other in the amateurs or met in the Olympics or been on a collision course since their debut fight or have been talking about the potential of who's better for many years. You would have seen it coming. We would have been waiting on it. This would have been the fight that we were like, did it take too long? If these guys were in the same weight division and spoken of in the same breath for the length of their careers, we'd be talking about right now, is this fight too late?
Well, see, and again, he's been a hypocrite right there because these guys on the record saying, and they said in the course of this podcast, they didn't want to see this fight. And then now that this is happening, you're trying to say, oh, yeah, well, before, these guys would have met or whatever. Well, okay, they haven't. So why would you have a problem with them finally getting
No, 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 no.
together
I think
and
you're missing
fighting?
what you're saying. I think you're missing what you're saying. I'm just saying. He's saying that there wasn't any of that. That like they didn't have a background where normal build-ups to fights is where you're it can, like Spence and Crawford for years. People talking about, hey, these guys should fight.
But,
We want to find out who's the best here.
but
That
that
did not naturally happen with Canelo and Crawford. So I have to be
But
fair
that
to
was
them.
because no, that was because of the politics. Now, the only reason Canelo and Crawford didn't, cross paths or whatever in the amateurs or whatever, because he grew up in Mexico. But Spence and Crawford, had sparred and been around each other and knew each other
They
coming
never
up.
fought.
They did spar. They talked
No, they
about
did
it.
not.
Okay, well, okay, I defer to you on that one. But they were very familiar with each other, and
That's
the push for them to fight had been there all along, and the only thing that kept that fight from happening was the fact that one guy, Crawford was with Top Rank, and Spence and his crews with PBC, and those two promoters wanted to control the money, so they wouldn't risk losing the belts to the opposite promotion. That's what that was all about. And
hmm
these guys sort of feed into those narratives to run with these rationales as in terms of why they don't want the fight to happen, rather than saying bump all that. We want to see who's the best. But I digress.
We have seen this 10 years ago or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see it coming because it's not a fight that's meant to be. It's not something that we called for or asked for because it's not something we knew to want.
But see again, now people like me, because I remember from the very beginning, especially right after he beat Spence, I was saying, well, why don't he fight Canelo? They're basically the same size. Canelo's not even bigger than Errol Spence. Fight. But again, they live in this. This is one of my favorite lines in Dune. Is about there's a danger in being a specialist. You want to be more of a generalist. Because specialists tend to get too much into the weeds and quibbling over commas, and and they lose sight of the bigger picture. And that's what happens to these guys. It's like, you know, these a lot of these fights were not happening because these different special interests didn't want them, and then they would shoot out these narratives. Well, you know, uh, Crawford's, he nobody's ever gone up 3 weight classes. Okay, we're gonna see in a minute. Actually, yeah, it's happened. A lot of great champions have went up multiple weight classes to challenge themselves and win titles on a higher level. That was nothing new. If you know your boxing history, you would know that. But you have clowns like this who I guess don't know their boxing history. So they'll go around and feeding into this
well.
narrative like, oh, it's ridiculous for Crawford to think that he could go up and fight Canelo. Who could
Will
do
you
such a thing?
Well, you know what really fed the narrative because I know you remember when there was a time they were talking about Errol Spence fighting Canelo Alvarez at
Yeah,
a
right,
catchweight, right? Remember that 160 or something like that.
right.
So because of that narrative that had been in place for Errol Spence to fight Canelo, no one considered Terence Crawford, right? So once Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence, the media like them didn't transition their thoughts. That hey, they were talking about Spence fighting Canelo. So how about Bud possibly fighting Canelo? So they never transitioned and they kept Bud in a particular pocket. And that's where they're off base because if you thought there's a possibility of Spence fighting Canelo, what's the difference in Bud fighting Canelo? And just because it's not a fight that you've been clamoring for years doesn't take the viability away from the fight. Just because of what both fighters represent, what both fighters have accomplished, just because you wasn't looking for it for years, because the narrative and the picture that's been painted doesn't devalue it. But at the same token, Terence Crawford did say Canelo was too big at one point in time.
Right,
But I always say so did Sugar Ray Leonard say that about Marvin Hagler.
right.
So you got to remember, and this is the part of the problem with fans and media. They take the boxer's words for gold as cement stone. When at the end of the day, last time I checked, human beings make changes, makes decisions, and change their mind based on new information. So when we holding them to their words to that degree, it limits our brain capacity and understanding what the landscape could be and what changes could come about, because we are being narrow-minded based on that landscape that we've let fighters create for us, because we just take their word.
Right. You froze up. Hopefully your internet will kick back in. Let's see if it comes back. Okay, but okay, there you go. You're back. But again, there's that perception versus reality thing. And again, that's what frustrates me, because people lose that ability to just look at the basics. Okay. And remember, all throughout Terence Crawford's career, if you follow Crawford's career, Canelo wasn't the first person they said was too big. That was the narrative going into the Errol Spence fight. Oh, Spence is going to kill him because he's too big. And there were other guys he fought even getting to welterweight where he said, oh, he's too big, without stopping and thinking like, okay, Spence is 5'9", Crawford's 5'8". That's not that much difference. Canelo's 5'7", and then just looking and not stopping to think, okay, well, yeah, when Crawford was, a teenager or in his early 20s, he was 135, 140 pounds or whatever. Okay, that's not, abnormal for an athlete, that size and height for that age. But okay, he's 38 now. What 38-year-old man that is 5'8", that's walking around at 130 pounds, that's not on crack? You know what I'm saying? It's like, as any man grows, his body's going to get naturally bigger. So just because he started out at a certain weight or whatever, as he ages, he's going to naturally, get to, his body's going to be able to hold that weight comfortably. That's just part of aging. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to make millions of dollars, he can, starve himself or drain himself down to artificially get to a weight, which is this other practice in boxing that happens all the time, where a guy is 20, 30 pounds heavier, but he drains himself down to make weight, then rehydrates within the 24 hours. And they bent the rules to allow this possible by doing away with the same day weigh-ins and all of that. It's like you create all these little artificial realities versus just stopping to take a step back and say, well, you know what? Actually, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, uh, and Canelo, and even Canelo, he started out at what, 140 or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was. You know what I'm
Started at
saying?
140. His first fight is
So
140.
okay, so why is it so preposterous that this is a viable fight? You can look at him, get him in the same room, just look at him with your eyes. He's not that much bigger than Crawford. And then you have to get him in the ring, and now everybody goes, "Oh well, yeah, actually he's not." And people like me were being called crazy for pointing it out, 2 years ago. It's like, no, he's not that much bigger. What are you guys talking about? Just look at him. Do a tail of the tape. You can see he's not that much bigger. What the hell are y'all talking about? But anyway, I digress.
And I'm not sure it's something that we really want so much as the way you put it. We're getting it and we're learning to like it. That's what's happening to me. I'm evolving into this fight. And if I'm honest, I'm learning to like it more and more every day in spite of the marketing. For me, the marketing's a bit of a turnoff. I'm not really loving the way that this fight is being rolled out. I haven't been to Vegas yet, but I'm expecting to see the fight everywhere. That's not uncommon. It's just not something that feels the way you want it to feel. It's not something that inspires me organically because I haven't been thinking about it, expecting it, planning for it. And in the consequential nature of it, I also think falls a lot shorter than what the marketing would have you believe. One guy in this fight has the opportunity to be great. The other guy is just defending his greatness. And no matter what we say or what the buildup is or what superstar celebrities or A-listers they put in a round table to talk about it, the truth is it's only Terence Crawford that's reaching for greatness. And the dismissive nature of Canelo's initial response to this fight being proposed is the honest one.
And Canelo
Lies. All lies. Okay, okay.
No, it's not all
Big
lies because
Orange. No, no,
Canelo
no. Hold
did
on, hold
say
on, hold
that
on,
his fight
hold on,
doesn't do
hold
anything
on,
for him. But let
hold,
me tell you
hold
this
up,
real quick.
Brim.
Let me tell you this real quick.
Go ahead.
The one thing that these guys are forgetting, and this is the problem with hardcores in boxing, is that they expecting a certain type of way is being promoted, a certain type of way is being done, and whenever it's done outside of that box, they have a problem with it. So they're closed minded. So their closed mindedness, when he said, "Well, you know, the promotion is turning me off," bro, the promotion isn't for you. The thing is, boxing fans have a problem when they promote it to casuals. But casuals is what make boxing make the money that it makes. So you have to be comfortable with the marketing that's going a direction that is from you as the hardcore fan. So I understood that they're marketing this to a demographic that is not me because they know I'm going to be tuned in because I'm a hardcore boxing fan, quote unquote. And the hardcore boxing fans have a problem when they're marketing it to hit a broader reach because they're having a closed-minded perspective, but then wonder why boxing in America is probably number 12 in all sports because their closed-mindedness on the marketing and promotion of the sport. If you want to bring in new fans, you have to outreach and go outside of the box that you're in. And
But
boxing fans, commentators, and pundits like themselves box themselves in to that little narrow box. And that's
that
why they have the opinion that they have.
that's the definition of an idiocracy. When you're so ingrained into a certain culture that you can't see the trees from the forest. And
Salute to my guy Hamed.
he even said, like, oh, I'm learning to like it because obviously the marketing is for you. The casual fan can see that it's a great fight. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there were plenty of, particularly, and here's the thing too, that separates like true experts, like the real fighters, like Teddy Atlas and Roy Jones Jr. and Tim Bradley and all those guys. They were like, yeah, this is a fight, I want to see. Where you got idiots like this that's running around talking about, oh, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that fight. I don't want to see that fight. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, the marketing was for you because you the only one that was too dumb and with your nose, up pressed up against the wall that you couldn't see what a great opportunity this was. And the point I wanted to make while he was saying about, oh, Canelo had nothing to gain. Now, I mean, I guess you can make the argument that Triple G is a great fighter. You know what I mean?
He was. He
But
definitely was a great fighter.
but other than Triple G, who has he beaten that is a truly great fighter?
Cotto, Mosley.
Yeah, Sugar Shane. Okay, I
Laura is
give you that.
a borderline great fighter. Laura has been and he's 42 years old and still a champion. So so Canelo has beaten some A class guys. Let's just I'm just gonna keep it a bean. That's
Okay, let
why
me
he's
put it
kind of in
this
the
way.
position.
Let me put it this way then. Who has he beaten that's better than Terence Bud Crawford? No fucking body.
Yeah, but it ain't too
Nobody,
many
none of
people
them.
better than Terence Bud Crawford either.
Exactly my point. So by beating Bud Crawford and putting Bud Crawford on his resume is a big boost to Canelo's credentials as a great fighter. He needed Crawford just as much as Crawford needed him
I disagree
because
with you on that.
I
I
mean,
disagree
to
with
me,
you.
because I say it like this with Triple G. Now, okay, the only person that beat Triple G is Canelo, right?
Yep.
I can say the same thing about Earl Spence because Earl Spence was considered every bit as good a fighter as Triple G was until he lost to Bud Crawford. And just because Bud Crawford made him look so bad, everybody's trying to change their analysis and rewrite history on Earl Spence. But the only
That's
person
true.
that's beaten Earl Spence is Terence Crawford. And again, you saw this again with this fight with Terence Crawford and Canelo. Terence Crawford beat him so easy that people are going to reassess Canelo now. So you can't go by how you lose
And
to
that's not
Terence
fair to
Crawford.
Canelo, to be honest. That's
Right.
not fair to Canelo.
I agree with that 100%, but I'm just speaking to what this knucklehead is talking about. Like, oh, Canelo had nothing to gain. If Canelo had beat Terence Crawford, that would have been
It
the best
enhances his
win
legacy.
on his resume. You know what I mean?
That's a
So
fact. It would have.
exactly.
I would say this: Terence Crawford stand more the game, but Canelo would have gained even more. I think if Canelo had to beat Terence Crawford, people would have easily said he's the greatest Mexican boxer of all time, and he would have rose up the list because you were fighting a fellow pound for pound fighter. Bottom line.
Exactly. And we'll see if they do a rematch. But to me, Canelo, if he's a true Mexican fighter, he would come back and try to prove a point that hey, I'm not going out like that. I can beat Terence Crawford. I'm gonna make some adjustments. I want the rematch. Let's do it again. Because if you're talking about Julio Cesar Chavez and uh, Marcos and Salvador Sanchez and all those kind of guys,
Barrera.
they coming back for them. They weren't gonna take no ass whooping like that and lay down behind it. That would not happen.
I
And
just don't think the rematch is going to happen though.
but even in fight, you know what I'm saying? One thing I've noticed about Canelo, once he gets really challenged and gets figured out, he kind of throws his hands up and says, even in his post fight, and we'll look at that too in a minute. You know what I mean? He's like, well, hey man, I lost, tough stuff. But guys like Duran and some of those, those other great Hispanic fighters, man, you got to kill them guys to be. They ain't gonna take no L laying down like that. You know?
I mean, at the same token, I don't want you to, because it sounds like where you're leading to with Canelo, because don't forget that Duran said no mas. So, no, they're humans at the end
Well,
of the day.
only because he felt like Sugar wasn't fighting him. It's similar to how
No, he said no mas because that man burned down. He all he did was a fat camp for the rematch because
well
his
he said
manager went behind the scenes and made the fight with Sugar Ray while he was partying, living it up, and he had to lose almost 50 pounds. That's why he said no mas, because he was burnt out. His body was not in tune for that fight and ready because he
hey,
didn't get prepared for the fight. All he did was have a fat camp.
that was part of the equation, but at least on the surface, his rationale was, "Oh man, you didn't come to fight. You running and you ain't. He wanted to fight the Mexican style. Come on, let's get at it toe to toe."
That's the only way he could have fought.
Which Sugar Ray did the first time and got beat. The second fight, Sugar Ray was like, "Okay, I'm gonna stick and move and stay away from you and win and win strategically." And Duran didn't want to fight that way. So Duran was like, "Oh man, you didn't want to fight. Forget it." You know what I'm saying? And Canelo
Yeah.
has done similar things with Skull and Charlo and some of these guys. It's like, okay, you guys don't want to fight, so I'm not gonna even try. You know what I mean?
Well, I can't say that with Charlo. Charlo's the one that didn't try.
Right. Well, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move on. Before I do, let me read out my babe's comment. She says since Spence looked at height and reach, however, Canelo Crawford had more power punches, ingenuity to switch game plan as he took steps within the boxing ring. Yep, that's so true, babe. And me
That's
and
a
her,
fact.
we do these deep dives breakdown before in the lead up to all these fights. So she's well versed in these boxing strategies. Next thing I want to look at is let's see. Let's see what Canelo had to say, kind of to what we were saying. What he had to say about because people they ask him like, okay, who was a better fighter between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford?
In the world of comparisons that we live in right now, if you can compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence Bud Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Well, so again, so where you have these people talking about, you know, um, you know, Canelo didn't have anything to gain. Well, okay, now that Canelo's been in the ring with them both, he's saying that Terence Crawford is better than Floyd Mayweather. So again,
Do you
losing
know
to
what
Bud
Terence Crawford
Crawford.
said? Though?
Oh, go ahead. I think what you gonna say?
He said Mayweather is the best in his era. I'm the best in my era. I don't see a need to compare.
And
But I understand Canelo comparing because I think Terence Crawford laid a little bit more wood on Canelo in comparison to Floyd. Floyd peppered him and duck
right.
and dodged him really well, but I think Bud had a little bit more mean intention and mean spirit into his punches and his approach to fighting Canelo than Floyd did. They both were effective in the ways that they did what they did. And I guess for Canelo, because Terence Crawford was more aggressive, that he would say he felt like Terence Crawford is the better fighter. And that's just, that he has that right to have that opinion. But for me, and I won't hold it against anybody, hold nobody's feet to the fire, saying if they comparing Floyd and Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is that high on the list where that comparison can happen. But for me, I'm not going to compare the two in regards to, who's greater really overall, because they're two different eras and they had two different styles and they accomplished what they accomplished in different ways.
Right. And yeah, and like I said, Bud was being diplomatic about it. He didn't want to get into that. But we got Hamed with us. Hamed, I think you might be muted, man, if I'm not mistaken. But
Could
go ahead,
you
man.
could you hear me now?
Yeah, give me your
Yes,
thoughts.
here you good.
Ah, yes, guys. I just listed. I did pick Crawford back in like January, so I wasn't surprised. I thought they would try and rob him. That was the only worry in the last, like, I'd say maybe week or so. I thought they may end in a draw. They almost did, but I
Mm-hmm.
just thought since the Belanga fight, maybe even Munguia fight, I just thought Canelo's there to be beaten if he fights either David Benavidez or Crawford. I was just surprised that so many people kept referring back to the Madrimov fight, because I watched Madrimov early on against guys like Eric Walker and
Mm-hmm.
some of the other opponents, and him and Canelo do nothing alike. Like, I know Canelo was bigger. To me, the big intrigue was Crawford's inactivity and the fact that he hasn't fought these weight classes. But I thought if it's a boxing match, I can't see how Canelo's going to win, because Canelo always has trouble with guys that are quicker than him or with movement. And even the fights with Trout, Lara, even William Skull. I know some people refuse to give Canelo any criticism, but that wasn't a great performance. I thought Canelo won the fight, but I don't think he looked that good. And I was seeing it before that, so I wasn't surprised. The only thing I was surprised is that Crawford is so like in the fight in the first 6 rounds. I thought he
Mm-hmm.
would be giving up more of a real estate and he would be trailing. I thought it was essentially an even fight after 6 rounds. Some people had Crawford ahead, but then from round 6, 7 on, I thought it was one way traffic. And I was just a bit surprised that so many people, even in America, were like discrediting Bud. Like, I don't know if it was because of the Spence fight or the fact that they just don't like him. But like now, I don't see how you could like take any credit away from him. I would say his win over Canelo is more impressive than what Mayweather did. Like, we could disagree or like have different opinions on their careers or their resumes, but
Mm-hmm.
like I can't imagine Floyd doing this. Like his opportunity would have been somewhere like Triple G, and I can't imagine him going up like at that age and going up like one or two weight classes, and definitely not two, and then just going in after 30-month layoff. So I think Bud deserves all the credit.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, I really want to see what kind of narratives are going to emerge now to try to take credit away from him. It's going to be hard because
Yeah.
you're going to have to give him his
They'll
flowers
still
after this.
try though. They'll throw out the
Yeah.
snack, Canelo's wash type of statement. But Hamed,
Mm.
just one more thing to point out too. Um, in
I don't
regards
think he's
to,
washed.
no, I don't think he is either. But in regards to the, they people we were concerned with the layover, right? And that was something I voiced, but I said
Yeah.
that maybe it's not a big deal for Crawford because he's been fighting once a year since 2020.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
fact that he dedicated the entire year to be prepared for the weight. So my
Mm.
question was, would his timing be off? Would he slow down on the back end? Or did he prepare himself in a way that would turn out to be successful? And we got our answer.
Yeah, I thought it was more or less a 50-50 fight. On paper, I was seeing like 60-40 to Canelo, but I just didn't like what I saw from Canelo. I'd say since the Munguia fight. If this fight happened in 20, maybe three, like when he was around the Charlo fight, yeah, I would have been worried for Bud. But after the Munguia fight and then the Belanga fight, I was like, if he's not going to fight David and Bud doesn't want to fight Boots or Ortiz or these guys, like, who don't really do much to his legacy, then they may as well make the fight. Because I was thinking when Bud beat Spence, a lot of people were saying back then that he could even beat Canelo. My only worry back then was that I need to see him at least fight once at 54. And even though the Mandarin fight was close, I I I thought after that fight he could beat Canelo because Madrimov was Bivol's main sparring partner, and Madrimov and Canelo fight nothing alike. And that's what really shocked me from guys who are meant to know what they talk about with boxing. Not Brim, because me and Brim, we were kind of on the same page with this fight. We just didn't know if Bud could pull it all together and whether or not he'll get the decision. And that's what my worry was. But I was surprised that so many people kept referring to the Madrimov fight when Madrimov and Canelo fight nothing alike. And Canelo's feet have always been a problem, but in the last like 2, 3 fights, I think he's looked even slower. But I thought Canelo boxed well for the first 6 rounds, even though he was getting hit a lot. Like I don't think he was washed. I just think Crawford's style was all wrong for him. That's how
So,
I had it.
so Hamed, how would you feel about a possible rematch? Do you feel like that's a viable fight?
Hmm. I don't think a rematch is a good idea because I think Crawford, if he puts his foot on the gas, I think he could stop him, or I think it could get even more ugly. And I think Canelo may have 1 or 2 more fights left. Like, I would prefer maybe Bud maybe goes for a middleweight title because I think he could become a champion at that weight. And Canelo, I think maybe could fight once or twice if he wants to close the deal. But what I was told last month, someone told me, a direct source, that he said he spoke to someone from Canelo's camp that was saying that Canelo was contemplating retirement after the William Skull fight. But he said he wasn't sure how much to read into it because they were telling him that he was really focused for the Crawford fight. But I think Canelo's got 1 foot out the door. He may have the rematch or he may not, but I think he may be thinking about retirement, and I wouldn't blame him. I think he could get seriously hurt. Like if that was David the other day, I think David probably stops him. If I'm being honest, even though the styles are a bit different, like I think
I
the only
don't.
reason he,
I'm still not sold with that because David is a volume puncher, and with a volume
mm,
puncher, there's you can get hit in between your shots. Again, there's
but
still the
what about
jury's still out on
75?
David. I feel like America overrates David. I think he has a chance to prove
Right.
greatness, but I think we've overrated David so far in his career.
Right.
I get you, but do you think Canelo could do something at 75? I think the only way that fight is competitive is if that's at 68 and David's struggling to make it. Because if Canelo moves up to 75, I just can't see him doing
I
anything.
personally, I don't. I think we need to stop talking about Canelo and David Benavidez. The moment that David
Yeah, I agree.
Benavidez went to 175, I felt like, okay, David Benavidez is trekking his own path. He has his
Yeah.
own ways. Like he's about to fight Anthony Yard, and his next fight
Mm.
should be Beterbiev. You know, be honest with you,
Yeah.
what fight I think may work is actually Bud versus Bivol. Because you got to remember, Bivol tried to rematch
Mm.
Canelo at what 168. Canelo's the one that said he didn't want to do it at 168. Bivol said he can make 168. Bivol coming off of
Yeah.
back surgery. He lost weight from his back surgery. What says that he can't make if he lost the weight and he gets himself back that he can't make 168 and fight Bud at 168? I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to happen, but it's a more distinct possibility.
I would like to see Bud try and maybe do something at middleweight because I think that'll just add to his legacy, even if he doesn't become undisputed. But the only reason I mentioned David because Canelo's team, they were talking about David fight or a rematch with Bivol. I think those guys both would have stopped him. I know the jury is out on Benavidez at the moment, but I think if he's fighting someone smaller than him or who's kind of older than him, I think at this stage he should beat a guy like Canelo. Even though Canelo, style-wise may find that opponent a bit more easier to tag, I just don't think he could pull it off at this stage of his career. Like doing
And you
single
might be right.
shots. Yeah,
Because 2 years
throwing single
ago, I would
shots.
say Canelo would beat Benavidez. He would catch him in between shots and probably hurt him.
Yeah,
But at today's date, you might be right. You
yeah,
might be absolutely
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Because
The
what I
Munguia
think what
fight was a worry.
I think what spirit Canelo had in him was taken um,
Yeah,
last night. So it would be hard for him to get up and face a challenge like Benavidez after taking that whooping. And then this the other thing too, because Bud sort of laid down the blueprint. Like you don't have to necessarily be scared of the guy. And if you're bigger and you can impose, and Bebo did the same thing. You can impose yourself on Canelo. And so for him to fight, particularly a guy that got that much size advantage. Now, is Benavidez skilled enough to take advantage of it? That's the real question. But it would be
Yeah.
interesting. Now, let me do this clip on Bud, sort of, you know, um, celebrating his win, and then I do want to get into this conversation about what's next for Bud.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not it. Oh, here we go. I think.
Could your chin stand up to Canelo's power? You took his punches, but to me it seemed you neutralized
There's
his
our
biggest
friend
shots. I
Radio
don't know that he hit
Raheem.
you even with his biggest shot. Do you consider that a greater accomplishment than proving that you have the chin to take the biggest shot?
Goes hand in hand, you know. A lot of people say I don't have no defense. You know, I get hit with these big shots, and that's what they was worried about. You know, hey, it's only so much that they can say now.
Down the stretch of the fight, we saw Canelo drop his hands at some point, shake his head. It appeared to me like he was mentally being broken. Did you perceive it that way? What did you think was going on in those 11th and 12th round when we saw Canelo seem to stop fighting for seconds?
Yeah, he was definitely frustrated, because what he was trying to do wasn't working. And when he get hit, he's just like, man, he shook his head like, I can't believe I got hit with that.
And last one from me. Where do you rate Canelo amongst your opponents? I mean, you're speaking about it as if it was an easy night. You've been hit harder. Where do you put him on the list of your most difficult opponents?
I'm not saying it was an easy night. By far, it wasn't easy. It just you look like that, but it definitely wasn't easy. He's definitely, at the top of my opponents that I've faced for sure.
Are you open to a rematch?
And I'm open to wherever. Like I said, I'm gonna sit back, enjoy my victory with my team, and I have my birthday in 2 weeks. Since I'm old, everyone.
Thank you for a great night and an incredible performance. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So, at 38, going forward, what do you guys see as a possible path forward for Bud, or should he just walk off into the sunset?
What do you reckon,
You
Bud?
first, man. No,
I,
you
I,
first.
I, I think he could retire, and I wouldn't blame him or Canelo. But I think he's got at least one more fight in him, maybe two. Same with Usyk. I think maybe Usyk got one more fight, but I think Usyk could retire because I think he's a bit older. But both these guys, Usyk and Crawford, I do want them to kind of retire after maybe one more fight. I think Usyk could maybe fight someone like Joseph Parker or maybe Caballel. And with Bud, if the rematch doesn't happen, that's a big money fight. But I don't think Canelo deep down wants it. Maybe he could fight someone like Lara or Adames. So whether or not those are big money fights, he is gonna obviously be a now bigger name, and I think that's enough. Like just maybe one or two more fights, and he could kind of then just go into this retire and just leave his work behind him, because at that point I think he's accomplished just as much as Floyd, but he's actually become a undisputed champion in three divisions, and I don't think he could do much more. Like, because I for years was defending Bud, and I was just finding it hard how so many guys in America were like giving him flack when guys like Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, even Pacquiao, one of my favorite fighters, his team, I don't think they were reluctant to not fight him. But that I think kind of has affected his resume. But at the moment, I think maybe one or two more fights, because this Canelo win, this is just such a big win. I think it just helps his resume, and I don't think he should stick around for too long.
Right. Because the thing about
Absolutely. I'm almost on the same boat as you. Retirement probably would be number one, but if I'm just going based off of what Terence Crawford said, again, their opinions can change at any time. But
Mhm.
just all on the surface, it looks like he might want to try 160, and the champions at 160 is Yannick, Adames, and Laura. But again, none of those fights are big money fights per se, because none of them have cachet value outside of us in the boxing community. But him getting that sixth division though might be appealing enough for him to go for one more shot. And if he does that, then that'd be good enough for him probably, and then he could call it a career.
Right. Now, Brim, I see you getting ready for work, so I'm gonna leave you guys with this one because I know I'm gonna be super casual on this. But to
Yeah,
me, the fight that I feel like Bud should push for to walk off into the sunset, because the thing is,
which
you know, at this level that he's reached now, it's always got to be bigger and better. He's got to have the right dance partner. You know, to fight, you know, like some guys 60, like Laura, you know, whoever you guys are mentioning, like that's not gonna sell. Now Turkey may pay for it, but I don't think those guys are a significant enough challenge, nor do they bring, you know, the dance partner aspect of it. To me, the fight that
I already know what he's gonna say.
Bud that Bud should push for is call Floyd out. Get Floyd out of retirement. He talking about fighting Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. Yeah, I was thinking, but I don't think he's too
Get
old.
him,
He's
get
You
I
know
think
what's
Floyd.
so odd about it? You said that you caught me off guard, and I'm gonna tell you why that's so odd about it.
What did you think I was
Bud
gonna say?
Crawford. I thought you was gonna say Benavidez, but I'm gonna say 175 is not possible
I
for
mean
Bud.
that,
But you know
yeah.
what? Here's the dynamic. What you said kind of made me say, because check this out. I don't think Terence Crawford's gonna go for it, but his first coach did a video message said, "I'm gonna see you beat Canelo, and I need you to go take that O from Floyd." He told Bud that. His first trainer told that to Bud. So that just adds a little interesting dynamic. But those are just words. And again, I don't know. I mean, it's just so much money in that. But I
That's
do
what I'm
think,
saying.
Mayweather's a little too old. But
I can't tell Floyd that Floyd. You know how Floyd is, man. He still got the ego.
yeah,
And
yeah. But but
What's
is his
Floyd now?
ego
How old
big
is
enough to
Floyd
put it
now?
at 40? He's 46, 47.
Okay, okay.
I think
But it's
Floyd would
I don't think
only do
I don't think Floyd's
if it's an
ego.
exhibition.
Right,
Yeah, that's
right,
only exhibition maybe, but I don't think Floyd's ego is big enough to put that all on the line to fight Terence Crawford at this point in his
Yeah,
life.
I
but
agree.
he would for some of
Unless,
that Turkey out of Sheik money.
But he could do that in an exhibition too, though, in a safer
Right.
route. Because you got to remember, Mayweather does play, and the not Pretty Boy, but Money Mayweather was smart and safe
Yeah.
to some degree. He took
it
challenges, but it was calculated.
Right.
it'd have to be like astronomical, maybe like close to a billion or half a billion.
Now,
And
250
even then,
million, 200 million will get him in the
you
ring
reckon?
Because
for to put his own on the line.
how much did he get for
I don't think you know
the
against Cross.
when he fought the MMA guy, Conor
When he
McGregor?
fought McGregor, I
100,
think he made 175 million,
100,
something like that.
Okay.
Oh, he made 100
100 or
million.
200. Yeah. Yeah,
Because the
100 or
thing is,
200.
I think for Crawford, man, seeing Canelo get that 150 million, he's gonna go to Turkey now and be like, okay, next fight, man, I need that 150. And so to justify that, he's gotta find the right dance partner. You know,
What
Benavidez
I,
might
about
be the one.
personally, I think the right dance partner is Bevo. Even though
what about Conor
casuals
McGregor?
don't know as much. Or you know who else I mentioned? Did somebody mention? And I hate to say this, but Eubanks might be the money in UK though at 160, but he has no title though.
Someone mentioned Conor McGregor and Crawford. I don't know. I know that was an option
Yeah,
before
yeah, they
Canelo
were
fight,
talking about an
but
MMA fight, right, or something.
No, they offered. They
someone,
offered. It's already been confirmed that they had offered Crawford a 2 fight deal, 100 million each, one in the ring, and one in the octagon.
Mm.
but do you think Bud would take it now, just as a like a money fight, if they offered him? Because I don't know who else he could fight. Like
I don't
guys
know.
like
I think Terence Crawford's pride in a sense, would probably keep him from doing it. His mentality would keep him from doing it. He would rather find a real fight option before he goes that option. At this point, where I think his
Hmm.
mindset is now, if he was 3 years removed, retired, then maybe I might feel a little differently. But just based on how Terence Crawford has carried himself, his mentality, I think that mentality would keep him from doing that type of fight at this point.
Yeah, I think he'll probably go for the middleweight belt because as great as Mayweather was, he never attempted that, or even super middleweight, which I don't think he was ever going to do. So that's probably his next goal if Canelo doesn't take the rematch. Then after that, I think he may look at McGregor because there's not many big names out there. Like unless he wants to come to the UK to fight guys like Chris Eubank or I don't know, but Shiraz. I think Shiraz is a bit too long and big, and it's not really that big of a fight, I'd say. So maybe Eubank, maybe Conor McGregor would be a thing option if he's
What about
towards the
B-Ball
end
at
of his.
168 in Nebraska?
Was that?
That would be
What about
interesting.
B-Ball at 168 in Nebraska? In the
I don't.
Cornhusker Stadium, in Nebraska's Cornhusker Stadium versus B-Ball, it's gonna make this. Bud will get his 100 million for that fight.
I don't know. I don't know because what does he have to gain from beating Bivol? Like I know it get him a lot of recognition, but it's not going to get him any achievements. Like because he's not going to go up to 75, and I don't
That's
think he
correct.
should.
I
Yeah,
don't think he should
that's
either.
that.
And the
Yeah,
but somebody said that Bivol could put his 175 titles on the line. I don't know if that's true or not. Because he still got three of them, potentially two, if another one gets stripped. So if they fought at 168, could Bud have his titles on the line and Bivol has it on the line? I don't know if that can be done or not.
I think it's been done with Sugar Ray Leonard and Donny Lalonde, and it was done I think with Mayweather and Maidana, but it doesn't really be done that frequently. I think Javante Davis and Santa Cruz did it. But I think Bud and guys like Usyk, these guys are almost 40. They should maybe have one or two more fights and walk
Yeah, but
out. Like
one fight
you,
with B-Ball in that stratosphere would do it. If you get a chance to fight for two of the belts at 175 and have your 168 on the line and y'all fight at 168, that does move the needle for Terence Crawford. If
I don't
that's
think he
realistically,
beats.
if that's
I don't
realistically
think
possible.
I don't think he beats Bivol. I don't think it's that realistic as well. Like Bivol
You say
hasn't
it's not
moved out.
realistic, but Bivol coming off back surgery, man.
No. But I'm saying Bivol said he would move down, but he still has never done it. Like when the option with Canelo was on the table, I know Canelo was the one who didn't want to do it, but like to me, I don't think Bivol's moving down. I've heard Bivol might move up to fight
But the thing is, though,
Giant.
Bivol just lost. We saw Bivol after when he was going through when he was doing his regimen through after surgery,
Yeah,
but I forget, his therapy. He
lost
looked
weight and
significantly smaller. It looked like he lost 15 pounds, 20 pounds easily. And on top of that, if he told Canelo, I want to fight you at 168, and Canelo said, no, I want to fight at 175, and he says, I can make 168, and then he's coming off of back surgery and he's lost some weight, I don't think it's unrealistic for Bivol being able to make 160. 168. That's why I say that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
it,
gotta
it's
go because my battery's gonna go. But good talking to you guys. So I
all right.
catch you guys
Nice to
soon.
meet
All
you,
right,
man. Yeah, man.
Indeed.
good.
Appreciate you, champ.
All right,
Chop
good.
it up
No
with y'all,
worries.
man.
Yeah. And Brim, I know you on your way to work, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But now isn't Bevo like 6'1"?
I think he's 6 foot 6'1". Yeah.
Okay. And that's another obstacle I think Crawford like Canelo, because I kind of agree that I don't agree with Crawford or Canelo fighting David Benavidez. He's just too tall, man.
It ain't that he's
6'3".
tall. He walks around at 215 pounds.
Right, but I mean, but part of that is how tall he is. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like a big guy. I mean, he's just tall.
Yes, he is a big guy. He be 220 out when he's not in fight camp. He be
Right.
big as heck. He weighs more than me. Well, I'm under 200 pounds now though, so I'm no longer fat. So
Cool. I got to get there myself, man. I'm trying, but it's rough.
hey, listen. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you a remedy that's going to work. Listen.
What's that?
What you want to do? This is probably 3 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
no less. Take ginger and a lemon. You cut the lemon in four. You put it in the pot of boiling. You put it in the pot. Boil the water for like 20 minutes. So medium boil. Then you pour it into a container, and you're gonna add turmeric.
Mm-hmm.
If you can handle the cayenne pepper, add cayenne pepper,
Mm-hmm.
cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
and then add the honey for it to taste good. When you're getting up to start your day, you drink it hot. If you're going to bed, you drink it cold. It flushes your system. I didn't lose just weight working out. I lost just weight because I started eating a little bit less, and I was doing that, and I started shedding pounds.
I mean, did you cut anything out of your diet though?
Not really, really. I still be eating bullcrap sometimes, but um, I didn't really. I just stopped eating. Like, so I had moments where I would eat a lot, But I have days where I'll have a sandwich and some chips, and that's and then have something light. I wouldn't eat a whole bunch. I eat like twice, twice.
Okay, well I'm gonna try that, man. You just gave me the recipe. I got it on record, so I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, try it. It definitely works, man. It definitely is, and it's good for your gut too.
Cool, cool. Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming on, man, and
I appreciate you having me, bro.
and so we'll see what other big fights come up down the line, and maybe we can do it
What
again.
you don't know what's coming up? Okay, so I'll just tell you the smaller fights. Liam Paro, you don't know who he is, but he was a champion at 140. He had beat Regis. He had beat Matias, which is a really powerful Puerto Rican puncher. He's moving up to welterweight, so he's about to fight for a chance to fight for the championship as the IBF. Yesterday, the same day, Paddy Donovan lost to Crocker. So Crocker's the IBF champion now. That's the belt that Boots used to have. So what's coming up? The big fights is November 22nd is the next big fight. No, it's not. I forgot. Remember, we got Thurman versus Fendora, and that's October 25th, October the 25th or 18th, and that's gonna have who else is on that card? I forgot. Oh yeah, dang, I forgot who else is on that card. Oh yeah, that's gonna have Stephen Fulton versus Oshaki Foster. Stephen Fulton's moving up to fight Oshaki Foster for his title at 130. Also, Virgil Ortiz is fighting Keith Thurman on the
Thurman
25th of October.
Thurman trying to
I
get
think
back in the game.
no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Virgil Ortiz is fighting Erickson Lubin,
Okay. Well,
and then uh, and Sebastian Fendora is fighting Keith Thurman.
okay.
Sebastian Fendora just got through beating on Tim Tszyu. He's gonna fight Keith Thurman. I think he's gonna be. He's like 6'5", and he's fighting at 154. That's Sebastian Fendora versus Keith Thurman.
Yeah.
And then the big card is November the 22nd, which has got a Benavidez versus Yard, Devin Haney versus my
Yeah.
man Brian Norman Jr.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the
That's the
one.
one. That's
I'm
the
looking for my
one.
man Brian Norman Jr. He's finna turn up.
Yeah.
He's finna turn up. But I'll be getting
Hey,
attacked because that's my peoples. I
yeah,
rock with them heavy.
we're gonna have to get together on that one. Now the other
Yeah,
that
you know it.
the other one that piqued my interest too, if it happens, is Shakur and Tio.
It's looking like they're talking January, February.
Right.
It's definitely Bud even called out T.O. after the press conference, and then T.O. was like, "Yeah, good performance." Da, da, da. He said, "When you gonna sign the contract to fight my little brother?" You know what I mean? So,
Right.
I think that fight is actually gonna happen. It looked like that's what's next.
Yeah. So,
Um,
but Turkey's gonna
yeah,
keep them coming. So he's gonna keep us some good fights. So when
yeah.
he
We
rolls
need to see
around,
Top Rank do something though. We need Top Rank because literally people was talking junk and complaining because the New Way fought MJ today, and we watched it on Facebook.
how'd it go?
On
By the
Top
way,
Rank Facebook page. Inoue dominated him
didn't
10-2.
he?
Inoue's a beast, bro. But Inoue is about to get ready to have the biggest Japanese fight in history. He's fighting again December the 27th against some dude, nondescript dude. I don't think he has a chance. But the reason why they're having that fight because they're going to get Nakatani a fight to get ready because Nakatani's moving up from 118 to 122, and he's about to fight Inoue. And the Nakatani is the person that might be to beat Inoue, and that's going to be the greatest Japanese fight in history, which is looking to probably happen in May.
I don't rate Inoue with Crawford and Usyk simply because I've never seen Crawford and Usyk be put down. And whereas Inoue, I've seen him get dropped. And
Yeah,
so
that's true. He's been dropped a couple of times. I mean, that's a fair thing to say that he's one step below because of that. But he's accomplished just as much as they have. But that if you add that dynamic into it, it's fair to make that assessment that it's Usyk and Bud, and then a new way behind him, right? But he's number 3, and then you got Bivol and Bam,
now
they're right there.
Bivol is my guy. I would put well. I think he kind of got jobbed with that loss to Better Beef, although that was a
I
great
thought he
close fight.
lost the first one though. I thought he lost the first one. He won. I
I
thought the
do too.
decisions went the way they
I
were
thought I
supposed to,
thought a
in my
lot of
opinion.
those points they were given to Better Beef were blocked on his arms, and they shouldn't have counted. I felt like
Fair. it was a debatable fight.
Right.
So you saying you thought Bivol win? I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, you tripping." I can't say that because the fight was
Because it was
dumb
close.
close.
And the second one was just as close. You know what I mean?
The second one was close, but it wasn't just as close because what happened was we saw the shifts in the fight. Like Beterbiev had Bivol on the ropes. It looked like Bivol was about to be done in the seventh round. He was in trouble. It looked like. Then Bivol just made a decision, said, "I'm going to step two, and I'm going to change the dynamics of the fight." And he just completely changed the dynamics of the fight, and he just carried the rest of the fight. And he did it in such a beautiful fashion. He just outlanded Beterbiev, and he landed the cleaner, harder shots to finish the fight. He got the job done. He got the
And
job done on the back end of that fight.
he learned his lesson from the first time. That's what he didn't do the first fight. In the second fight, he learned that lesson. Like, okay,
Yeah, he buried down and said, I can't just 1-2 step away and try to,
right.
I got to actually take a little bit of educated risk, take a couple shots, and I'm going to have to land the cleaner shots. And he did it. He did it.
And he learned in the first fight, just like he did with Canelo, that because Beterbiev was knocking out everybody, and it's like, well, I can actually take his punches. I'm the first guy to go the distance with him, so he realized I don't have to be that scared of him. So
Yeah, I can throw it. I don't have to be as cautious. I can throw a little bit more cautious to win. I can put a little more behind the punches, and he did because he landed the cleaner shots down the back end of the fight for real, for real.
right. So it just goes back to that thing. Once you realize that you can stand in front of a guy and fight him, that's half the battle. You know what I mean? So,
You ain't
but
learn.
but yeah, man. But like I said, we won't have to get together on these Razorbacks on Hard Wild or something. But for now, we'll close it out in the box. I'm glad Bud has sort of silenced these haters. I'm gonna go listen to some more reactions and stuff. But I
Yeah,
appreciate
I'm
you.
finna watch it. I'm finna pull up on a panel maybe or two for a hot second, and then be like, hey, "Listen, super," because people say, "Oh, he's Super Bud, huh?" He's y'all calling, and he is Super Bud. He really is Super Bud. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the commentary amongst people, their opinions, see the haters what they got to say and all that. That's gonna be interesting. I look forward to it. And I don't look forward to talking Arkansas though, because there's nothing to talk about. We got a good offense and a trash defense. It's just that simple.
Yeah, but it's something to talk about. I'm gonna talk about that defense. Because again, that's my thing. Whether it's boxing, whatever sport it is, basketball, I'm a
You're gonna get
defensive guy.
into the trenches with it. You're gonna talk about it.
I'm a defensive guy. You know what I mean? I preach it
Well,
all
if
the
you're a
time.
defensive guy, you should be offended by the performance yesterday.
I was highly. So, but hey, man, I'll catch you. I'll catch you. I'll see you in them YouTube streets, bro.
You already know it, my brother. God bless, man.
Yes, sir.